Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by Mount Onsra, who released their second album, Sacred Time, on June the 28th. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. So, welcome to the Full Pelt Music Podcast, Mount Onsra. Absolutely delighted to have you both on today, Simon and Russell. Obviously, first question is just how are you both doing this evening? Yeah.
Yeah, all good. I've just finished work, so I'm
Me
actually still
too.
I'm still at work, but I'm using the space to get somewhere nice and quiet. So yeah, all good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be here. But the
Yeah.
good thing is I am at home, so I haven't got far to travel, so that's good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Well, obviously delighted to have you both on. Such an exciting time for you both, for the band. You've got obviously your second album coming out, which we're going to delve into in just a moment. But really, I want to just sort of start at the beginning with the band actually, because there's a fantastic story to how you two have reconnected. Really, a pandemic reunion I've written down, which is a lovely term for it. Obviously, background being that you played together 20 plus sort of years ago. I mean, neither of you look old enough that that's true, I'm sure. But
Drama.
when your separate ways, as it were, obviously life takes over, doesn't it? And you've both obviously been out there living life, and then that big event that affected us all 4 years ago now. Wow, long time
Yeah.
actually.
Wow.
Has brought you back together. So I just wanted to ask you, if how that took place. How did you reconnect during that period?
Simon, do you want to tell the haircut
Yeah,
story?
I'll jump in. So so I guess like lots of us, I was working at home. I was working in the NHS at the time. And so obviously, those days of the pandemic like brought about like so much hardship for people, but also loads of some good things as well. But one of the bad things was the inability to go to the hairdressers to get your hair cut. So 4 years ago, my daughter was cutting my hair. So as you do, what you do is you go on Instagram Live and just film yourself having your haircut by your youngest daughter. That's what you do, I think. That's
Yeah,
and
certainly during the
so
pandemic. Yeah.
so 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 that was happening, and Russell just popped up, and I live in a place called Radstock, in the southwest, and Russell just popped up and went, "Oh look, there's the Radstock Samurai," because I had what I think is now a traditional pandemic haircut, which is shaved so very up high in the top of the head, but quite a long bit on the top. And and from that, like me and Russ probably hadn't communicated for a very long time. And from that one interaction, I kind of I said to Russ just over message, have you ever like made any remote music, which neither of us had done,
Mm.
and that's what sparked my Onsra off. So I guess probably after that conversation, I don't know, Russ, within a week.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of had mustered up a song, just like a kind of what I thought then was a rough outline of a song, and sent it to Simon, and he sent it back with vocals on, and we were both a bit, well, this is pretty good. So should we do another one? And then that just happened over about 2 weeks. It was, well, maybe a little bit longer, but it wasn't very long before we had
No.
10 songs.
Wow.
Um, and kind of soon realized that like this actually sounds good. Should we do this properly? Because it was genuinely, sorry, like a um, studio project, just a bit of fun while we were locked out, and I also make films, so I was I couldn't make any films, so I was like, couldn't get together with a crew. It was all a bit much, so kind of had to get some creativity out somewhere. So yeah, we just ended up sending stuff back to each other, like back and forward, and yeah, we ended up with that first album, and it was super quick. And I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying maybe
Like it was weeks,
yeah,
rather than
maybe like 3
months.
weeks, and it was done. Yeah,
Incredible.
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, that,
but sorry, Paul. But the crazy thing was, like, Russ would send me like full complete tracks, like of an evening, and the way that I was working at the time, I was kind of, it was pretty full on, like for so many people. But I was getting up at like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and kind of putting in an hour's shift on we didn't have a name at that point, but on the music, and it was like, and that was my meditation for the day, that kind of got me through that day, you know, just diving into the music. But yeah, it was great.
yeah, it's beautiful, really. Actually, you know, like you say, that sort of release of you know, getting it out of the sort of rut everyone was in during the pandemic, and obviously dealing with everything we're dealing with, but obviously, you know, a creative outlet for you, Russell, as well, you know, providing you both provided both of you with something, obviously, to get you through what was a tough time. And I think, Simon, you said it at the start, actually, and termed it quite well, because on this podcast and our accompanying podcast, Discover New Music Podcast, where we do talk to a lot of, you know, new bands, obviously a lot of them formed during the pandemic, so we always end up finding ourselves, thankfully less and less, talking about the pandemic, but obviously it was such a horrible time for everyone. But as you say, actually it did create, for some people, create opportunities for them to obviously, you know, reconnect in your obviously situation, and obviously build it into what you have. So it's finding, I guess, light in that darkness of the pandemic. Yes, it's lovely.
100%. And it's like the bit, there is a reason that the album's called Written in Silence as well, in that we didn't talk to one another audibly or visibly until after the album was completed. So all communication was silent via WhatsApp. I think we even sent the tracks through WhatsApp, didn't we?
Yep. Yeah, everything was through WhatsApp. Yeah.
It is just incredible when you think of it. I mean, before we pressed record, we were talking about, obviously, you know, we're on a certain platform that a lot of people use to record these things, and obviously how that escalated the use of it during the pandemic. And you know, again, that's a change for all of us now, is the embracement of technology and different ways of working that perhaps no one would have been really open to pre-pandemic. So yeah, it's incredible.
It's pretty wild, because I teach at an art college. I teach film at an art college, and I was having to do, if you can even do this, technical delivery on a video call to students, which was wild. You know, we were having to post equipment out to students and then teach them how to use it over this. You know, it was pretty wild. Yeah, it was crazy. And then even when the equipment was posted back, had to be in quarantine for 72 hours before anyone else could use it. It was pretty wild. Like,
I forgot about that. People used to wash the shopping, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's wild time.
It was a wild time. Yeah. I was only talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, to be honest. You say about washing the shop. Yeah. Just the little things that we did back then, and it became almost normal. When actually now you sit back and go, did we really do that?
I tell you what I did like. I did like when we were allowed out for our daily walk. I did like that.
Yeah.
I like getting out amongst it. There's that period during lockdown 1 that I seem to remember, where like there's like no cars on the road, no planes in the sky. I don't know like what it was like where you were, Paul, but it felt like very quickly like all the trees and the greenery were taken over, and it was like, yeah, I could get used to this kind of. I don't know, part of it is nice, but but queuing outside Tesco's for a couple of hours isn't Particularly good idea.
No, exactly. And thankfully, we can move on from that, or to get a nice little sort of dad joke pun in, we can emerge from that, because obviously the next question for you is obviously the first taste of album number 2 was a single called Emergent.
Yes.
So obviously, we'll get into the recording methods in a little while, because obviously they'll be quite different to obviously that first album. But I just want to ask you on the single of Emergent right now. I always find it fascinating to ask this question, because the first single to be released from an album or an EP is always a bit of a statement, in my opinion. You've got a number of tracks there you're looking at, and you've got to pick almost not necessarily your favorite, but the one that you think is going to put out the right message and send the right sort of obviously steer towards what is coming down the future. So for Emergent, what about that song stood out to you to be that track?
I think we went with the age-old kind of urban myth that if the first vocal gets them, then you're in, kind of thing. So I think on that, I think for me personally, it's probably different for other people that listen to it, but for me personally, on the album, that song is like the delivery of the first vocal on that. The first time you hear Simon and what he's saying is like, okay, I want to hear more. And I think that's why I think we had this discussion, Simon. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. But yeah, I think I think that's really what it is. And it's one of the more straightforward songs on the album as well. 4/4. It's probably the only 4/4 one on the album.
It's the only 4/4.
Yeah.
That's probably because this is the only song where musically I had a hand in writing some of it, so that's why it's in 4/4.
Yeah.
But it's like, but lyrically, like I wrote it, so I would say this, but it's kind of it's we as friends, we've, like you said at the start, we've been friends for an awful long time. We've been in different musical things, like together, mostly apart over time. And but actually there was something about this song, like it's a song about acceptance, and it's a song about acceptance about who you are, where you are, what you do, what you love, what drives you, and it's like, and that feels like I think when we came to write the second album, it felt like we were still on the buzz of the first album, but it felt like we were, but certainly for me anyway, it felt a lot more confident, like in terms of we like the first album was it's all pouring out. This one all poured out too, but it was with, I think, with slightly more confidence, which was nice,
Yeah.
And I think Emergent kind of sums that up.
Yeah, and I think we didn't stop, did we? That's the thing. The second album was pretty much all done 3 weeks after the first one. So it was like in demo format. So we were we got to the end of the 10.
Don't hang about, do we?
Wanted to do, and then we were kind of like, let's just carry on, just keep writing, and we just kept going basically. And then we had enough for another one pretty soon. So, but they were all in demo format, and it's couldn't wait to like get in a room and actually record them with each other rather than WhatsApp.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, I mean, on that point, I'm going to skip ahead slightly. I'll make sure I come back to Emergent in a moment. But obviously, that recording process, like you've touched upon, that first one completely by WhatsApp, is just incredible to me, the way that you managed to create something so powerful out of that sort of situation. And obviously, a different environment, being able to get in a room together, potentially a more difficult environment actually, because you've got to contend with each other's personalities a little bit, then more so than obviously via text message and WhatsApp or whatever it is. So I mean, how did you find getting back into a room and making this music in person? What was it like for you?
It was fine. Like me, I think the reason me and Simon have been pals for so long is just because we are really compatible making music, you know. So I've said this a few times, but the way this whole band works is I make these songs, make these instrumentals, and then I send them to Simon. Simon gets excited, and then he sends them back, and they're a million times better than when I sent them. And that's like our process, basically. So it's we were both equally as excited to record them and see what it was going to sound like, and kind of and it was just we knew it all needed to be in-house. We knew we wanted to record it ourselves, and we knew that we were just going to be like both like really excited and completely engulfed in it, and not almost not let anyone else in, you know. It was quite, yeah.
And to be fair, like it's, and I think that's the bit. So you imagine we write, record, and produce, but everything that we do, for better or for worse. But we do it all ourselves. So when it comes to recording, like obviously I've got to record vocals and stuff, but when it comes to the music, it enables me to then like proper geek out about sound engineering and recording and kind of being involved in that part of the process, which I have grown to love over the years. Like it wasn't always my natural playground at all, but yeah. So to be fair, when we got in, so we used a friend of ours, Don Moore. He's got a studio. He's an artist, and he's got a studio in Cornwall, and we borrowed his room, which has got amazingly high ceilings, so you can get a proper John Bonham on in there, and you know, recorded all the instrumentals. So to be fair, I had to do very little. Like Russ did all the hard work.
yeah, it's we've both recorded and had experience in studios anyway, so we were kind of, it was pretty fun to kind of, not, like I was saying earlier, not have anyone else in kind of, why don't you try this? You know, it's probably a good idea to have someone in saying, why don't you try this sometimes? But we were kind of really, because it was, I guess it's like a confidence thing, like Simon was saying, like, because we did the first one and it surprisingly, we were like, this sounds great. We were like, so we can just do this now. We don't need anyone else to do it. So it's kind of got in that room, mic'd everything up, you know, and it was like, cool, this sounds great. And just plowed on through the tracking. Really, it's a bit of a chore for me, a bit of a weekend. But yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah,
like one man band, so every single instrument.
Yeah,
Russ has got to play. I tried to play some guitar. The guitar part that I wrote couldn't do it, so Russ had to do that.
Yeah.
But then it was a different story though, Paul, when it came to recording the vocals, because it was really, and this is an interesting one, I think, when it comes back to that idea of confidence. I think so. You imagine like pandemic era Onsra. I've got a little space next to my kitchen downstairs that I record in, and like bearing in mind that I was doing most of that recording at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. So if I'd been too loud, I don't think my dear family would have appreciated it too much. So I've been really used to like singing very quietly, or quietly enough, in this really confined space. And we had the full intention of going and recording the vocals live in the same way that we recorded all the instrumentals. But when it got to it, I couldn't. It was really weird. I couldn't be that vulnerable in an open space, and so that was the one thing that I had to take back and do at home in my little room. Was the vocals, and kind of being able to be, because they're, you know, like the people will, I don't know, hopefully listen to the vocals and take whatever meaning out of them that makes sense for them. But the music and the vocals and the whole thing is designed to be very personal and mean something. And it certainly means something to us. And it's like, I like to be able to record those, and I need to just. I don't want anybody to look at me. Don't look at me.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely understand that. There's a kind of vulnerability or a feeling of vulnerability, I guess, in obviously, you're sort of at that focal point. Everyone, obviously, looking at you, and I can imagine it'd be quite off-putting, and you've got that space where you can just kind of escape and let those vocals out, and fascinating, as you say. Absolutely. No, I've loved listening to you both. Obviously, it's a sort of labour of love, isn't it? It really, I can really tell, the passion you've got for the music coming through, and it's fantastic. And obviously, I said I was going to go back to Emergent, and specifically, again, I can see a passion and the love that you put into the project that is obviously Mount Onsra, through the music videos. And I'm guessing, Russell, from what you told me, your job is, I'm guessing actually, you're a major part of this. The music videos that you've put out, I grew up obviously watching music TV, Krang, MTV, etc. Bit of a lost art these days, and I always like to ask about music videos, so I'll always go and have a look. And some of them these days, budgetary reasons or creative reasons or whatever, they're not the most inspiring videos. I love your videos. Like, I just sat and watched a few of them again before we come on, and absolutely incredible. And obviously, Emergent is the one I thought, I've got to pick one of these to ask you about. I'm going to stick with Emergent for it, because I just, really sort of bought into the story of that video. And again, you said, Simon, about people taking from the lyrics what they want. I watched that video, and it just helped me reconnect with that teenage me, with the posters on the wall, struggling at school. Yeah, it's fantastic. So I mean, how obviously, do you go about, putting the concepts that you clearly have these videos into practice, and how important is it for you to obviously to be able to have these pieces of art to accompany the music?
Yeah, so the Emergent one particularly was based really on conversations that me and Simon have had over many years. And Simon grew up in Northern Ireland. I grew up in the southwest down here, but like on the border of Devon and Cornwall. And but we both had a similar music taste. We both had the thing where the last year of school was when we really realized that we wanted to make music for a living, or try to. That was the aim. So it was almost like, why are we learning? I don't need any of this stuff that you're teaching me, because I'm gonna be in a band. So, do what you want with that, because that's what it is. So I kind of wanted to make a video that was kind of portrayed that, and also having a female in the main role was also something like, I had lots of friends when I was a teenager, and even into early adulthood, that were girls that were really into metal, and really obsessively, buying records, just, the leather jacket, all the stuff. And it was and it never gets represented. Whenever someone makes a music video of 80s, late 80s, early 90s thrash era, it's always a dude dressed up as something. And we were just be nice to do that. It also helps with the sometimes if you have it's not going to happen with us, because we're obviously older than the age of the people in the video. But if you have a male protagonist, sometimes it's they particularly on the first video, they might think it's the singer of the band, and then it's and then there's that whole confusion going on there, kind of thing. So it was, I really wanted to try and do something with female kind of main character, but telling the story of me and Simon. Also is not, we're telling everyone right now, but it's also not quite as on the nose, that it's about really it's us when we were kids, kind of thing. So yeah, and we're just trying to think of those things that we used to do. We didn't have YouTube when we were growing up, so it's learning riffs by pulling the record back a little bit more, pulling the record back a little bit more, and just trying to work out the notes. Like I just really wanted to get that kind of thing in, and yeah, just sitting on your bed for hours with headphones on, listening to records, and just reading the back of the covers, which no one does now. No one's reading the back of a cover. They're just online, reading about them on an article somewhere, like, which, is obviously fine, but it was just very difficult, like, back then, to kind of get any information. I think I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were saying it's wild how now you can just type in a genre and it'll bring you a big list of bands up, where our version of that was, oh, James Hetfield's wearing a t-shirt of that band, I wonder what they're like. And you were just like, the kind of list of bands that were influential were just all the other bands' t-shirts that you would look at, and then just try and work it out, and it's pretty cool. Like, it's that kind of, like, you go out wearing your flag, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Spending hours in record shops just listening to stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's such a, it feels like a lost art, but some kids are doing it, and that's amazing. It's kind of like, bring that back, because it's just like, just even that idea that you'd sit for an afternoon just listening to music. It's like,
and just missing your bus stop on the way home because you're reading the cover of the record you just bought, and you're like, oh, I've gone too far. Like, yes, walk back. It's like, it's all that stuff. It's like, I think it's really important. It's really important to me. Like, I love all that.
Absolutely with you. And, we've all got, we talked about embracing technology. We've all got to do it. And it's fantastic that, I can go and see a band, and there's a support band that I like. And I think, what, on the way home, quickly, let's get Spotify or whatever app I'm going to use to stream, and let's have a listen to them. It's great that we can do that, but you can't beat then going down to a record shop and picking up the vinyl of that, that band, and taking it home, taking out the sleeve, reading it, the smell of it. I get really geeky now, but when you put it on, and you can't replicate it.
But I think it goes to the core of who you are, because you form a different kind of emotional connection with a band that you've had to put some effort in to build, to find out who they are and build the relationship, and because then you're like, oh, they're my band. Like, only I love them. Or if you find somebody else who loves them, they're definitely all right. Like, we went to see Tool play last Monday, and I was just saying, like, I don't know what the capacity of the O2 is, 20,000 something. But it's like 20,000 of the best people in the UK were right there. It's like, brilliant, amazing. There you go, just surrounded by really cool people. Because generally, not saying this is 100% foolproof, but generally, people who like Tool will be amazing.
I don't think, like, you dip in and out of Tool either. You don't casually listen to Tool. You're either in, and you're winding everyone up about the Fibonacci sequence, or you're not listening to it at all. That's
I don't know. I just tend to put it on for background, really.
It's terrible.
No, it is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. As I say, we sounds like we had pretty similar upbringings musically, like in both genre and the way we consume it. And no, I do love it. I mean, for those obviously that love YouTube, and again, there's definitely a space for it. There'll be links in the bio of the episodes, so listeners obviously go and check out these videos that I just talked about, because they're well worth your time to delve into them. And obviously all of it is leading up to, obviously, Sacred Time, 28th of June. The album is out, so obviously, one for the diary there, listeners. And there's been a couple more singles that have followed up, obviously Fever Dream and Universal, which both of which are on our playlist. Again, I'll point the listeners towards our playlist to check those ones out, and obviously, 3 tracks there to whet the appetite for the album. With the album coming out, do you obviously feel, I imagine, that those 3 songs give really good account of what's to come? What can listeners expect from the album, really?
I think the Universal, we kind of had a quick switch around to releasing that as a 3rd one, because we were some of the other ones we had in mind, we were a little bit like, these ones start quiet and end loud. It's like, and we don't just do that. We don't just start quiet and end loud on all the songs, you know. So we kind of switched it up to have a more like atmospheric, mellow song, so to just kind of give it a little bit of variety. But yeah, that's the kind of variety you're going to get. Also, there's some electronic bits as well. So it's kind of, you know, it's it's not all just quite
Well, and some very
loudy.
weird time signatures that you love, and like I think there's a lot of light and shade in this album, and there's a lot of twists and turns, I think, in because like that I always like, you imagine Russ presents me with a track, and I kind of describe them as I've got a new puzzle, like that I've got to kind of get my head into and find out where the melody and where the vocal is going to go and sit, and the amazing thing is that because it forces me to like not respond, and maybe like if I was writing a song with an acoustic guitar, then I will write a song with an acoustic guitar with a very formulaic way that I've always done, like since I was 15. But when I get these puzzles, it's like you have to dive into them, and like I've mentioned that, like meditate with them and kind of sit with it, and that's the kind of the bit. So like, you know, whatever Russ has like been listening to, or the influences he's been taking, or like we've been listening, both of us have been listening to a fair amount of King Crimson recently, which isn't going to be 4/4
Yeah.
in any stretch of the imagination. But it just opens up a whole new world. So I guess, yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying it. There's lots of. I think it's sonically it sounds different from the first album. Would you agree with us?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think. And I think the beauty in that as well is like Simon, because we don't, you know, you get some bands that they all live in a house together. They're all listening to the same music. They're all like, and they're all in the same kind of scene, and they're all kind of, you know, the new Buzz album comes out and they're all listening to it. But whereas we got a pretty broad taste, both of us, so we're always listening to completely. Like, I don't know what Simon listens to when I'm not with him, and vice versa. You know, so it's kind of.
I couldn't tell you. You'd never speak to me again.
Yeah, there you go.
But, is it Swifty? Yeah. He looks like Swifty to me.
Yeah.
Stop it, Paul. Stop it.
Yeah. Saying that, Folklore.
Hell of an album.
Nice record. Yeah. But the so I'm listening to lots of. I always try and dig out more experimental stuff. I would probably say from the both of us, and it could be just influence from something that's, you know, some modern kind of avant-garde jazz stuff that I'm into, or it could be some intense blast beat like grindcore, but there might be just a way that music shifts and changes and does a weird thing with timing that will influence something that doesn't even sound like that I'm writing, but it's just the little shift might be something in it that makes it more interesting and exciting for me, kind of thing, you know. So it's there's a song called Interstellar on the first album, and the pattern of the notes is basically all of the Slayer songs. You know, it's all of the Slayer big hitters. It's just this little kind of box of notes that they use for a lot of those memorable Slayer riffs. And I was just playing with those notes with a clean guitar, and that riff came out. So, you know, it's kind of that's kind of how it works sometimes, you know. Yeah.
I love the I think that I saw a quote or is in the press release saying obviously that you didn't go into the project with a set sort of idea of what type of music you're going to play. You just literally just sat at home and text each other or WhatsApp. But obviously it just like whatever come out. And I mean, obviously you talk about the different sort of influences on yourself, Russell, and I couldn't agree more. Obviously, hence I do things like this podcast. I love music and I love all types of music. You know, I think I could never just sit and just only like one type of music. Like I love thrash and I love Metallica and I love Slayer, but I couldn't just listen to that. You know, you need so much more. And obviously, yeah, Folklore is a stunning album. It really, really is. And no, as is obviously, yeah, Sacred Time is something listeners really need to invest in. And I think you said the word interesting, and I think that's a really good word probably to describe the album. Is something that's going to keep you interested. From what I've obviously had a little sneak peek and everything. So it's definitely, yeah, listeners, June 28th is out, Sacred Time. Definitely go and invest in it and take some of your own sacred time to listen to it. I love a dad joke that you might get out of. Obviously, you've reformed, regrouped in the pandemic. One album out, another album coming out now. Next sort of question is just around what comes next in terms of do you obviously have ambitions to take these songs onto a stage? Do you envisage the band playing live? What's the thought process on that side of the industry?
Do you want to take us a song, or do you want me to?
Yeah, well, so the short answer is yeah. So like we are blessed with having some very talented friends who we are regularly in a rehearsal room with, kind of working up a live set, which is like is such a weird sensation. So we've got Joe, James, and Aidan who are helping us with the live set, and we've described how we recorded the albums, and but then going into a room and then hearing it live is like it's magic. But it's so weird than every other band that I've been in, and I think both of us have been in, because the parts are all there pretty much. Like we're not asking our very talented buddies just to stick to the parts that they've been given, but the broad sketch is there. So we're gonna be doing some live shows as soon as we possibly can, and then it's been at least a month since we've written an album, so we'll probably have to do album 3 or something. What do you reckon, Russ?
Yeah, probably. Well, it's already started a little bit.
Yeah.
But there was something, Simon, that I was meant to mention to you in the week, but at last band practice, which was last Saturday, I did notice it was a really weird feeling. I noticed when we were in there that there was an intro to a song and me and you aren't playing. And it was really weird. It was like the band is just playing one of our songs.
Whoa.
And we're not doing anything. It was like for the first maybe 4 bars, we're just standing looking at each other, like waiting to come in. And it's like these other guys are playing songs. It's pretty cool. It's like it's a cool feeling. That. Yeah.
That's when we can have a little hug on stage.
Yeah. That's it,
yeah. No, that must be a unique feeling. I guess I'm trying to think what I could liken it to, and perhaps obviously just watching your kid go off to school for the first time, really, isn't it? Something you've created is kind of going off and living its own life without you now and starting to take its wings. So yeah,
that's what we should do when AD's doing the intro. Just ruffle his hair a little bit.
Yeah.
Off you go, son.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, and leads me nicely on to just giving out your social handles, because I always say, that listeners, that's the best way to stay up to date with obviously the band. So when live dates do get announced, that's where you're going to want to go. And I always give them out. They'll flash up on YouTube in the corner as well, and on Spotify, because they have videos now as well. Great technology evolving. So it's really easy. Because it's the band's name, which quite often it's not actually, because everything's taken. But Mount Onsra MT, and on Facebook and Instagram, you've even got the full stop, the dot in there as well, from what I see, which is great. But obviously not on Twitter, because they don't allow them, I don't believe. So you got obviously Mount Onsra, and I say it'll be in the link in the bio, it'll be on the screen. I'm pretty sure listeners would find it without me, but it's just tradition that I give them out. So definitely listeners, go and find that. So obviously, we're nearing the end. I think we could probably sit here and talk for hours about obviously the band. It's been an absolutely fantastic chat, but we're on the last segment, which is always the same question. It's something that I'm calling Magic Wand, and we brought it in a year or so ago because me and the guests always found ourselves talking about the music industry in one way or another. So I brought this one in, and we're going to go into fantasy land a little, and I'm going to give you both a magic wand. And with that magic wand, you can change one thing about the music industry, but obviously one thing only, but I'll give you one each. So, a bit of leeway. And it is a tough one because there's a lot to change, really. So there's no right or wrong answer, basically. But who wants to go first with their magic wand?
Okay, I'm gonna go. My magic wand is completely eliminating numbers on social media. So people are signing or getting involved in bands purely on the merit of the music and not on how many numbers they have. That's my magic wand for right now.
And gosh, that is a fantastic one, Russell. It really is. Yeah, so much emphasis is put on those numbers when it comes to get booking shows, getting onto festivals, getting on playlists, etc. And there's some amazing bands, with what relatively low sort of numbers that aren't getting the attention they deserve. And on the flip side, there's some bloody awful bands that get a lot of attention and do not deserve it. So really, really good one, that. And obviously a bit of pressure now really on Simon to kind of match or top it.
Well, I suppose when you look at like the difficulties at local, like small venues and small and medium touring bands, the pressure they're under just to stay afloat. So if I had a magic wand, we'd have some sort of decent, reasonable government who introduced legislation which meant that record companies had to distribute somewhere between 30 and 50% of their profit to keep grassroots venues and small and medium-sized bands touring, I think.
I think you've managed to sort of at least match, if not top Russell, because obviously grassroots venues, again, regular listeners to this podcast will know how often I bang on about the importance of these venues. We talked about Taylor Swift, who's out there, selling out these stadiums, Ed Sheeran, Adele as well. All of these artists had to start somewhere. Maybe not 100%. All artists, but most artists have to start somewhere for sure. And without this lifeblood, this ecosystem feeding, obviously, these creators through this space and building audiences, then we're a bit stuffed as we go forward into the future, because where are these future acts coming from? So absolutely great answer. And part of me wants to say, there's a potential magic wand coming up in a few weeks in the UK that could influence that.
Don't forget to use your magic wand. That's the golden rule.
Absolutely, I can endorse that for sure. And let's just hope that wherever we end up, and whoever we end up with, they take the arts and the importance of the arts as seriously as it deserves. And hopefully listeners will take, obviously, the new album Sacred Time as seriously as it does deserve. Again, listeners, my direction to you is go and check out these videos on YouTube. Go and obviously check out the album when it's out on the 28th, and follow the band across social media for these show announcements when they do come. That's my final message. I always give the final message over to the guests. So what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Okay, this is a bit of a plug, if that's cool. So basically tomorrow, I don't know when this podcast is going to go out, but tomorrow, which will be what date are we on? The 12th will be tomorrow. We have a live videoed session of just stripped back versions of a few of the songs with just me and Simon playing. And it's in an art gallery down in here in Devon called Field System. And they are interviewing us. The art gallery are interviewing us between the songs. So it's a really cool little video coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that sounds really, really interesting. Unfortunately, the episode will come out after that. But obviously, if it's available in the aftermath, then again, I definitely encourage listeners to go and to watch
Yeah.
that. I love something a little different like that. So that's absolutely fantastic. And it's been really, really great chatting with you both. It's I say a fascinating story, great music, and obviously hopefully a nice future ahead as well with a third album, I'm sure, within the next few weeks at the rate you put them out, and obviously some nice shows to come. So I'm sure it'd be great to get you back on in the future. But for now, obviously, just thank you for me for coming onto the podcast.
Amazing,
No
Paul.
worries at
Thank
all.
you. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Mount Onsra. Do make sure that you check out their latest album, Sacred Time, which is out on June 28th. And of course, follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also follow Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.